ठहरे हो। Evening chanting, page 14 in the book. यो सो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो स्वाखातो ये न भगवता धम्मो सुपटिपन्नो यस्य भगवतो सावक संगो तमयं भगवन्तं सधम्मं ससंगम् इमे हि सकारि यथार्हम् आरोपिते हि अभिपूजयाम साधुनो बन्ति भगवा सुचिरपरिनिब्बुतोऽपि पश्चिमा जनता नुकम्पमानसा इमे सकारि दुगतपणाकारभूते पटिगणातु अम्हाकं दीर्घरतं हिताय सुखाय अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तम् अभिवादेमि। स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मं नमस्सामि सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो संघं नमामि। हन्दमयं बुद्धस्य भगवतो पुब्बभागनमकारं करोमसि नमो तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्बुद्धस्य नमो तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्बुद्धस्य नमो तस्य भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्धस्य। हन्दमयं बुद्धानुसतिनयं करोमसे तं कोपन भगवन्तम् एवं कल्याणो किति सद्दो अभुगतो इति पिसो भगवा अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरुष धम्मसारथि सत्ता देव मनुष्यान् बुद्धो भगवाति। हन्दमयं बुद्धाभिगीतिं करोमसे बुद्धवारहन्त वरतादिगुणाभियुतो शुद्धाभिज्ञान करुणा हि समागततो बोधेसियो सुजनतं कमलं वसुरो वन्दाम्यहं तमरणं शिरसा जिनेन्दं बुद्धो यो सब्बपाणिनं शरणं खेमम् उत्तमं पठमानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहं बुद्धस्सस्मि दासी वा बुद्धो मे सामिकिस्सरो बुद्धस्सां नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि बुद्धस्यैव सुबोधितं नत्थि मे शरणम् अन्यं बुद्धो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्ढेयं सत्तु शासने बुद्धं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं पशुतम् इद सब्बेऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा हन्दमयं धम्मानुसतिनयं करोमसे स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो सन्दिट्ठिको अकालिको एहि पस्सिको औपनयिको पश्चात्तं वेदितव्यो विनियोहीति हन्दमयं धम्माभिगीतिं करोमसे स्वाखाततादिगुणयुग्वसेन सेयो यो मग्गपाकपर्यतिविमोक्षभेदो धम्मो कुलोकपतना तदधारि धारी वन्दामहं तमरं वरदम्ममेतं धम्मो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं द्वितीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहं धम्मस्मि दासीव धम्मो मे सामिकीश्वरो धम्मस्सहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदं वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि धम्मस्यैव सुधम्मतं नत्थि मे शरणम् अन्यं धम्मो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्ढेयं सत्तु शासने धम्मं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं पशुतम् इद सब्बेऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा हन्दमयं सङ्घानुसतिनयं करोमसे सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो यदिदं चत्तारि पुरुषयुगानि अष्टपुरुषपुद्गला एष भगवतो सावक संघो आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो खिनेयो अञ्जलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यकेतं लोकसाति हन्दमयं सङ्गाभिगीतिं करोमसे सधम्मजो सुपटिपत्तिगुणादियुतो यो अट्ठविधो अरियपुगलसङ्गसेठो शीलादिधम्मपवराशयकाय चेतो वन्दामि अहं तम् अरियगणं सुशुद्धं संघो यो सर्वपाणिनं शरणं खेममुत्तमं ततीयानुसतिष्ठानं वन्दामि तं शिरेणहं संघस्सस्मि दासीव संघो मे सामिकिस्सरो संघस्सहं नियादेमि शरीरं जीवितं चिदम् वन्दन्तीहं चरिष्यामि सङ्घस्सोपटिपन्नतं नत्ति मे शरणम् अन्यत् सङ्घो मे शरणं वरम् एतेन सज्जवज्जेन वड्ढेयं सत्तु शासने सङ्घं मे वन्दमानाय यं पुण्यं पशुतम् इद सब्बेऽपि अन्तरायामि माहेषुं तस्य तेजसा।
Connected to OnePlus 3T and PLD laptop.
Now listen to and recite कश्यप भोजंग। जो हमने भोजंग परित्ता पढ़ा था उसमें 3 स्टोरीज आती हैं, महाकश्यप के बीमार होने की, महामोगलान के और भगवान बुद्ध के। तो जो ओरिजिनल सूत्र हैं वो 3 सूत्र हैं संयुक्त निकाय में। तो उसका सब पहला सूत्र आज हम सुनेंगे। महाकश्यप भोजंग।
OnePlus 3T disconnected. Connected to PLD laptop and OnePlus 3T.
नमो तस्से भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्दस्से। नमो तस्से भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा सम्बुद्दस्से। नमो तस्से भगवतो अरहतो සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස එවං මේ සුතං ඒකං සමයං භගවා රාජගහේ විහෙරති වේලුවනේ කලන් දෙක නිවාපේ තේන කෝපා සමයේන ආයස්මා මහා කස්සපෝ පිප්ඵලි ගුහායන් විහෙරති ආබාධිකෝ දුක්ඛිතෝ බාල්හ ගිලානු අත්ථකෝ භගවා සායන්න සමයං පතිසල්ලානා උට්ඨිතෝ යේනායස්මා මහාකස්සපෝ තේනුප සංකමි උපසංකමිත්වා පඤ්ඤත්තේ ආසනේ නිසීදී නිසජ්ජකෝ භගවා ආයස්මන්තං මහාකස්සපං ඒතද කච්චිතේ කස්සප කමනියං කච්චි යාපනියං කච්චි දුක්ඛා වේදනා පටික්ඛමන්තිනෝ අභික්ඛමන්ති පටික්ඛමෝසානං පඤ්ඤායතිනෝ අභික්ඛමෝති නමේ භන්තේ khමනියං න යාපනියං බාල්හා මේ දුක්ඛා වේදනා අභික්ඛමන්ති නෝ පටික්ඛමන්ති අභික්ඛමෝසානං පඤ්ඤායතිනෝ පටික්ඛමෝති සත්තිමේ කස්සප බුද්ධංගා මයා සම්මෙදක්ඛාතා භාවිතා බහුලී කතා අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තන්ති කතමේ සති සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ කස්සප මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතු භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති ධම්ම විචය සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝකස්සප මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති. විරිය සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ කස්සප මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති. පීති සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ කස්සප මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති. පස්සද්ධි සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ කස්සප මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති. සමාධි සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ කස්සප මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති. උපේක්ඛා සම්බොජ්ජංගෝ කෝ කස්සප මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතෝ භාවිතෝ බහුලීකතෝ අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තති. ඉමේ කෝ කස්සප සත්ත බොජ්ජංගා මයා සම්මදක්ඛාතා භාවිතා බහුලීකතා අභිඤ්ඤාය සම්බෝධාය නිබ්බානාය සංවත්තන්ති. තග්ග භගව බොජ්ජංගා තග්ග සුගත බොජ්ජංගාති. ඉදමවෝච භගවා අත්තමනෝ ආයස්මා මහා කස්සපෝ භගවතෝ භාසිතං අභිනන්දි. උත්ථාය චායස්මා මහා කස්සපෝ තම්හා ආබාධා තථා පහිනෝ ඡායස්මතෝ මහා කස්සපස්ස සෝ ආබාධෝ ඊතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන සුත්තිතේ හෝතු සදා. ඊතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන සබ්බ රෝගෝ විනාශේතු. ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන
हम प्रवचन सुनेंगे लुम्पू सुमेधो का, जो 2008 की मोनास्टिक रिट्रीट में दिए गए थे। काफ़ी प्रवचन मैंने वहाँ से लिए हैं। मेत्ता फॉर ऑल कंडीशंस। अभी 5 मिनट वेट करेंगे, मैडम नीचे दवाई लाने गई हैं, फिर उसके बाद अच्छे से अद्भुत है शैली। वक्त औषधे
పట్టుకెళ్ళి పేటిగా
आपण कुठे
That's working. Just so that's super. This one I mean, can't the parcel you can eat. पतकर जूसी ये पूरा पूरू का भाई मजा पर gut çorum atı çorum win zumret le so si gaita es gadas Suzdrámut.
One plus 3T, disconnected. Connected to PLD laptop and 1 plus 3T. One plus 3T, disconnected. Connected to PLD laptop and 1 plus 3T.
Charge.
1 plus 3t, disconnected. Connected to PLD laptop and 1 plus 3t. PLD laptop, disconnected.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Aparuta de sangamata satavara ye sodavanta bamunchantu satang. So the announcement, the gate through the deathless is open. Ye sodavanta bamunchantu satang. So this is like those who can understand or hear surrender to faith, to this awareness, to this gate of the deathless. So I mean, it's a great statement, because otherwise, you know, if there's no gate to the deathless, then we're stuck with our bodies and the limitations of conditioned phenomena. No way out. Kind of helpless victims of circumstance. And why don't we get in this? Why are we here? These thoughts occur to most of us, don't they? What is the purpose of life? What is being born? What's the point of being human? Are we just here to procreate the species and destroy the planet? Are we some kind of lethal plague that's ruining planet Earth? They're already talking about going to live on Mars when we've ruined this place. So, I mean, you think just humanity can be seen in totally negative perceptions. And I think most of us, all of us, in fact, probably, what is the purpose of life? What is the point? Why am I here? So these are, you know, when we think about our own existence, what's the point of it? You're going to die anyway. And, so you have hopes that maybe after death, if you behave yourself, you go to a permanent abiding place in happiness. That's the kind of the idea of being happy all the time is very appealing. But, happiness is also impermanent and depends on conditions. Or the kind of happiness you get from having everything the way you want it. So, there's when you get what you want, when I get what I want, I'm happy. But that happiness is momentary. You can't, it doesn't last all that long and you want something else. Or the happiness is seen from understanding the truth of the way it is, which is not the same thing, is it? It's not the same. Happiness is a kind of term that can be used for almost anything. Like love can mean that you like something a lot, or love somebody a lot. But so we use, I just love it. I love California. I love all kinds of wonderful things, meaning you like California. Because so this is trying to define these words, make these words work for you, because so much of our language is habitual. We just use these English words and out of habit. Sometimes we don't even understand their true meaning. So in defining the word love, in the sense of metta, unconditioned love, or like Christian love, they talk about Christian love is unconditioned, then that isn't about liking at all. It's about not picking, choosing, dividing, not abusing, not preferring one thing over another. It's allowing everything to be what it is. So it's unconditioned. If I say, I love you when you behave yourself, and when you do what I want and follow my instructions, then you're worthy of my love. And what is that? As it says, I only like you when you don't upset me, and you do what I want, then I like you. But then love is unconditional. Love is not diminished or increased by how good you are or how bad you are. So like metta practice is Brahmavihara. The first Brahmavihara is, think of it like this. So in using the metta practice, it can be just sentimentality and thinking positively, and and when you're feeling good, it works. One gets quite high on it. But just notice when you remember in Thatcher years in England, nobody liked Mrs. Thatcher. So in a metta practice, a retreat center at Amravati, have metta they could have metta for almost everyone. But when I said Mrs. Thatcher, you feel this suddenly this loving kindness dropped. It's probably the same with George Bush, right? But this isn't liking George Bush. It's not in approving. But also be aware of how that word George Bush affects you. So have metta, loving kindness to George Bush, and then just be aware of maybe your emotional reactions to thinking that, or me saying it. It's like this. So if you dislike or hate George Bush, then say have metta for George Bush. Then be aware of how that, when I say this, how that your emotional reaction, or when you spread metta to George Bush, then what kind of, you're aware of maybe aversion, anger, resentment. And then have metta for that, so you're actually using unconditional love for every condition. That it's a way of developing metta that isn't just sentimental or just being positive and nice about everything. So, you have, one time there was somebody leading a metta retreat at Amaravati, and this woman came to me and she was in despair because every time they said, have metta for your mother, she just felt anger rise. She was angry with her mother. And so I said, okay, now metta for the teacher, I can do that. Metta for the nuns, that's all right. Metta for the monks, all right. Your mother. So then she felt terrible. I can't practice metta because, you're supposed to have metta for your mother, of all people, at an ideal level, sentimental level. But this is where the metta practice isn't about that you should have metta for anybody, but, that it's a kind of imperative and that it determines what a good or bad person you are. But it's about unconditioned love, which means metta for even the anger. Your anger towards your mother is like this. You see, so it's not about convincing yourself or being, having this kind of positive attitude towards everything, forgive. And there was a case last year of a Anglican priest, a woman, whose daughter was brutally murdered by some teenagers or somebody. Anyway, this was big news in England. And this priest, she had a parish somewhere in southern England, and she was so, this was such a trauma to her, that her daughter was brutally murdered, that she couldn't forgive the killer. And of course, an Anglican priest should be able to forgive. Jesus says so. And so she left the parish, I think, left the priesthood because she didn't feel she could rise up to that and be a hypocrite when she was teaching about love and forgiveness. Well, if she consulted me, I could have helped her out on this issue. Because the anger or hatred or bitterness or wanting revenge on the killer. I mean, we have metta for that too. So you're having metta for your own, and it's not hypocrisy. I mean, metta isn't sentimental. It's very practical. It's acknowledging that I'll never forgive the killers of my daughters like this. Now if you're with this empty state, and you can accept this, I'll never, as you allow it to be conscious, I can never forgive these dastardly murderers. And then you listen to that and receive it. And you'll begin to, you find that metta allows the anger and hatred to be accepted. And that's loving kindness. It's unconditioned love, isn't it? It's allowing even this miserable state to be what it is. And in doing that and being patient with it, it ceases. So you can resolve, she didn't have to leave the priesthood because of that. I see it as a challenge, something to learn from, rather than. But if you have this idea that because you're a priest, a Christian priest, you should be perfect and be able to forgive, then you're going to feel guilty and unworthy. You see, which has a lack of metta for yourself. So it's this is I think this works beautifully for me. It's been an enormous kind of way of dealing with unresolved resentments in my life, bitter memories of the past, things I don't like about myself, those habits and attitudes and emotions that I personally don't like and don't want. But this metta then is like it's this sound of silence, this kind of wide open, spacious receiving of allowing everything to be what it is. It's called unconditional love. Whether it's the killer of your daughter or your anger. Because it's all conditions, isn't it? The perception of the killer is a condition, and the anger that it arouses is a condition. So it's you're beginning to see it in terms of Dhamma rather than seeing it always in idealistic terms about how you should be. If you're trying to be really good Christian and you should forgive, and you're teaching everyone else to forgive their enemies, and then you can't, then you fully feel you're not very good. But then that feeling I'm not very good priest is have metta for that. So it's not kind of ignoring or just bypassing or putting something onto it. It's receiving it, feeling a sense of I'm a hypocrite. I'm not worthy. I should disrobe because because I preach about loving kindness, but I can't really do it myself. Bringing that into consciousness, feeling it, receiving it, allowing it to be, not analyzing it. You don't have to figure out why you feel this way or trace it back to anything, but just receive it, and then the sound of silence, you'll stop actually thinking about it or analyzing it or making anything out of it, but you are able to, the thought itself, the perception ceases, but the lingering anger or resentment or guilt is like this sense of I'm not worthy of the robe is like this. Now if I stay with that feeling I'm not worthy, you can't sustain it. It actually, you're observing, you're able to see for yourself its absence, it drops away. So even your anger towards the killer, if you allow this anger to be fully received in consciousness, you can observe it and feel it. You're feeling, you're not trying to get rid of it or bypass it, but fully receive anger and feel it, and it will cease. That's the nature of conditioned phenomena. So then, would you please clarify the Brahma Viharas conditioned or unconditioned? Well, these are conventions. Brahma Viharas. When we use these terms, they are pointing at reality. So, like metta, translated into English as unconditioned love. Well, this emptiness, this empty consciousness is that. Because it receives everything unconditionally. It doesn't prefer your friends to your daughter's killer. It receives everything. And so it's like a movie screen, isn't it? You use the movie camera to play the film, and you get all these images on the screen, but and so the screen is always there, but you don't notice that the screen is empty, and you project onto the screen the images of anger and hatred and romance and revenge and love and hate and war and peace and all the rest. So without this, then it is. You're just trying to play games with your mind. Trying to convince yourself, we end up just feeling guilty about the feelings we have, because as an ideal priest, you shouldn't be like that. As an ideal monk, as a Dhamma teacher, as a meditation teacher, as a senior bhikkhu, you could really, always be aware that you're never quite, as a person, as good as the ideal for a really wise meditation master, a really senior bhikkhu should be. Because that's an ideal, the ideal of a good bhikkhu, and then the realities of being, using this convention, the monastic convention, but it's not meant to intimidate or make you feel guilty. It's for awareness, for awakening. It's a pointer, it's a guide, rather than a position I take on life and judge myself always from how things should be. If everything was perfect, or if I was this perfect bhikkhu, then I would be worthy of the robe. I've heard monks say this, I'm not, because, they say, one said, I have so much lust that I'm not worthy of this robe. So it's like, the robe is very upset when you have it. Or am I making a big deal out of it? I have to be perfect before I can put on the robe. Well, then why bother? So then this is my own reflection. This is not doctrine or that, but it's just how I see like metta as you let go of everything, then metta is just natural to emptiness. It's love that, love is a unitive energy. So even on the romantic level, when you fall in love with somebody else, you have a sense of uniting with other person. It's a union. Just on the kind of pop level of romance. But then in terms of unconditioned love, it's, if there was no love, if there is no unconditioned love, everything would fall apart. Love is underneath everything. Now one time I was going through a difficult time with a lot of anger for someone who I felt was treating me very badly. And so I had to bring this, this person's name was mentioned, I just feel anger arising and resentment and aversion. And then And then, I thought, I don't, I can love everybody but this one at that time. And so it was the challenge. So I started one day, this person was coming to Amaravati, so the thought of this person coming was, oh God, it's troublesome, difficult. And so I started writing all this down on a pad of paper. And just writing out the anger and unexpurgated, unedited malice, version, nastiness. Not trying to be nice, a good bhikkhu, or understanding, or reasonable about anything. Just letting whatever, no matter how maniacal or brutal or nasty or whatever, silly, whatever, I'd write it out. And by doing that, I came to a point where I'd think of this person and nothing would come up. And surely there's some other nasty thing I could but actually I couldn't. It was the end of that. Because it had somehow released the anger and aversion, resentment. So, no matter how hard I tried to say something negative or critical about this person, nothing would come up into consciousness. So then I asked myself, what does this pure consciousness say to this person? And to say a spontaneous, I love you. So this was a surprise, because this wasn't what I was expecting. But it was quite revealing, isn't it? This is why I have this confidence in this way, that underneath every anger, every horrible thing that happens, brutality, atrocity, madness, all the things that create anger and aversion, separate and divide, underneath that is this unconditioned love as a basis. So this is where, this mindfulness is the way to that, to get in touch with that again, to recognize it. So, then you have perspective on your own karmic dilemmas, your own experience of anger and fear and resentment, in which you're not just suppressing it or running away or distracting, nor are you creating it into something more than what it is, like your personal problem, your fault, your weakness, and feel guilty about it. You can actually use it. So that metta, in this sense of the Brahma Vihara, and like karuna and mudita, I find they're spontaneous responses to particular situations. So compassion isn't unconditioned, but it's a response to the suffering of others. It's not pitying, it's not sentimental, feeling sorry for. It's understanding suffering from your own understanding of the noble truths. And then the mudita is joy, and so joy is also spontaneous. The beauty, the goodness in nature brings up joy. You're glad, the scenery here. During the day, you look out and it brings up joy, and the beautiful, beautiful scenery. You can rejoice, or feel this joy spontaneously arising from natural beauty, or the goodness and beauty in others. So these aren't created states out of ignorance, but they're not sentiments. They're not superficial sentimentality. And then equanimity, upekkha, also is, I would say, It's the basis, upekkha and metta. Metta are just different ways of looking at emptiness. So metta is like kind of positive, loving kindness. Upekkha is equanimity, which is doesn't have this sense of love so much, does it, or total acceptance of everything. But it is natural state. It's not, it's balance, it's mindfulness, it's ekaggata, one-pointedness. So these Brahma Vihara, they're called the sublime states or divine abodes. They have this sense of they're not created out of ignorance. They're not human sentiments. We can put them in kind of altruistic states, but then they are beautiful, even beautiful qualities. But then if we just admire their beautiful qualities, they don't. When we're really in the midst of our own resentments and anger, it doesn't do much good to think of the Brahma Viharas just on the intellectual level. Unless you've actually trained, developed an insight into metta as and it's not just metta practice in a very controlled situation, but it's an ongoing way of receiving life and resolving your own karmic, resolving the unresolved karma that arises. Like suppressing anger, it doesn't resolve your karma. It just, you kind of like look the other way, ignore it, and hope that it'll go away. But then, you can only control things so long, then they kind of rebound on you. So that you're always getting these kind of shocks. Suddenly you feel very angry when you thought, I'm beyond anger now. I practice metta and I'm just so beyond. Keep pushing your anger down. And then you kind of lose that ability to control, and then it explodes. And you think, oh, I thought I was beyond it, and now I'm just so angry I could murder that person. I mean, it's, so that this mindfulness, the path to the deathless, the gate to the deathless. The gate to the deathless is open. This is a reflective statement. It's not a doctrine, but it's what a gate to the deathless. And we're in a death realm. This conditioned realm is all about death. So, we're surrounded. We're all dying. We're all getting old. And then Ajahn Chah used to use terms like die before you die. Meditation is, proper meditation, bhavana, is dying before you die. And so this sense of dying before you die, even though we die all the time inwardly, we don't notice. We're always seeking rebirth in something else. So we get bored, disillusioned with things, and then we seek something to distract ourselves from it. So it's like a seeking rebirth in maybe a sense pleasure, or in a computer, or whatever. So you find ways of being reborn. So you never have to endure the boredom, disillusionment, and that's on the other side. Old age, sickness, death. So this die before you die is I found very useful reflection. So that the death of the ego, you're letting it go. You're not killing your ego, but you're letting the ego cease by allowing it to be what it is. So when the ego ceases, this you can actually observe here in this retreat. When the sense of yourself is no longer present, that's a death of the ego. But what's left is peacefulness, emptiness, clarity. So, and then emotionally, you might find it frightening because, we're so experience life through our egos so much, through our sakya ditti, that when there's no me, no sense of me as something or somebody, when that's gone, then we can go into a panic because it's like I was saying, it's more like a black hole. You want some identity. You need an identity to, at least, I am this. So we seek identity in whatever. In race, in gender, in sexual orientation, in religion, in class. Isn't it? We've got to hold on to something to seek, I'm this is what I am. And then when that ceases, who are you? If you've invested so much in being something that and then that's being taken away from you don't know who you are, and that's frightening. But if you stay with that fear, and with metta, with unconditioned love, then the fear drops. And the question of who am I, there's no self, and that's liberation. You are this though, this awareness, this is, but it's not like a quality from the Sakya Ditti. So it's deathless. It's unconditioned, unborn, uncreated, unformed, unoriginated. It's nibbana. It's anatta. And the way to that realization is mindfulness. Aparuta de sangamatatsatawa, the gate to the deathless is open. Now another question here. Now that you know what the Brahma Viharas are. Please talk about the nada sound in relation to the body and for conditionings in relation to the body. So there's some people, developing awareness around the nada or sound of silence. They feel like they're spacing out because it doesn't have, one can get very peaceful with it or feel spaced out. So this is, recognize that this is not to develop some kind of absorption into that. It's not an end in itself, it's merely a reference point. And so, like, in the beginning of the retreat, saying that recognize, being aware of the body, the posture, the four postures, sitting, standing, walking, lying down, aware of the breath. Now with the sound of silence, you can actually be aware of the body. So as you recognize the sound of silence, and at the same moment you can bring attention to the body sitting here at the same moment. Because sound of silence isn't conditioned, is the unconditioned in this sense, then the body is in relationship to that. It doesn't cancel out anything. So it's like a background. So, and I remember reading in Visuddhimagga and books like that about the developing body awareness and having the whole body experience. Well, just trying to think of the whole body was I could understand the words. I couldn't do it. It just seemed, I thought, I'm not ready. That must be in a very advanced state. And then when I do like this kind of sweeping practice where you go through the sensations, and always get lost and get to my right armpit and I'd be thinking about something else. If I could get that far. And so, then using the sound of silence, it gives you this space to receive the body just as a single object. The whole body's like this. Because the space, or the sound of silence, the consciousness then is allowing the body, as an object. It's not, you're not saying, I reject sound of silence in order to do body practice. Use it together because it works very well. You just have this, be able to be with the body without having some idea of how you should practice with it. And then more and more you're aware of it as you bring the body into the sound of silence. I feel the pressure, any stress, or, the body will speak for itself then, and you can, and just by allowing the body to be the way it is, it has its own ability to make proper adjustments without me trying to make it do what I want. You really, how much in this practice you realize the body is anatta. That it is an intelligent form that knows how to cure and resolve things if you allow it, if you give it that opportunity. But if you're always imposing your will and your vanity and your views about it or ignoring it, then it's going to not be a very happy body, because you ignore it, you exploit it, you use it, you impose your will on it, you're vain about it, you're critical, always pointing out what you don't like about it, and then the body isn't going to be very pleasant condition to live with. If somebody lived with you and just kept nagging you all the time, it'd be hard to maintain any equanimity, wouldn't it, or joy? And just exploited, abused, nagged, and criticized you'd get terribly depressed. Well, sometimes we do that to ourselves, don't we? We think this body is mine, so and then we use it, try to use it for all kinds of things that are not good for it, or you can see it in the coming Olympics. The will, when you're young, willpower is very strong. When you're my age, you give up. You surrender to. So that's the advantage of getting old. It's not, you don't have that kind of energy to just make yourself do things according to willpower. So then also anapanasati with sound of silence. So you tune into sound of silence. And then notice the nostrils, the inhalation, exhalation. and they go simultaneous. Or the sound of silence is a background for the inhalation, background for the exhalation. It connects. The sound of silence will, it won't be just consciousness of an inhalation and then consciousness of an exhalation as fragments, but the consciousness is connected to receive the process of breathing as a whole thing, from the point that it reaches the end of the inhalation to the beginning of the exhalation and so forth. So that this is how to use the sound of silence with the body. So it's recommended too, not to space out in kind of, emptiness, but to recognize emptiness, to begin to really appreciate it, like the gate to the deathless. This is the deathless. That means a lot to me. I don't know what that means to you, but and then I can be aware of the body in a way that I can't be aware if I'm still operating from my body, sakya ditthi, identities, and just trying to do something, make myself do some kind of technique that I apply onto the body that somebody told me, or trying to make myself do anapanasati by forcing my concentration on the breath through a willful act. So in this way, it's like it's intuitive also. So you're more clued in to what is necessary, what's useful, rather than just operating from recipes or prescriptions that you get from others. So that's why this paradigm, there is the unborn, uncreated, unformed, unconditioned. Therefore there is escape from the born, the created, the formed, the conditioned. That's a brilliant paradigm to reflect from. So, in terms of mindfulness, you're putting yourself in this Bhutto position, the unborn, uncreated. It's just this. It's not a high state of, great advanced, esoteric spiritual union with the ultimate. It's just this. And it's ordinary and unnoticed. And then by noticing from this point, it's empty. There's no self. Like sound of silence, if you can trust it and relax with it, then the sense of sakyaditi drops away. The thinking mind will cease, but there's still alertness, attention, consciousness, and then you'll start thinking, what does this mean? Is this really Buddhism, or is this some kind of aberration of Ajahn Sumedho's and things like that? I don't know myself, but it works. And for me anyway, I'm just sharing from with my own experiments and knowledge. So then from this point, I'm not saying this as some kind of doctrinal, this is the unconditioned and you are the unconditioned. It's not like that. This is more reflective. It's recognizing that this stillness, this silence is like this. So I kind of rest in it, get to know it, trust it. And then I affirm it, unborn, uncreated, unformed, unconditioned. And then take Sakya Ditti, the sense of myself, me and mine, my opinions, my body, my life, what I think, and on like this, my memories. Then I can investigate this sense of me and mine by deliberately, being me, thinking about me and being, like selfishness. We're talking about this is a real intimidation, saying you're just a very selfish person. And I think, well, selfishness. Oh, be selfish then. What is it like, So, I want everything for myself, and I quite, enjoy sometimes making melodramas, being totally selfish. But I can see, it's about thinking and using this sense of my life, my view, what I want in life is the ultimate purpose, and I see that I get what I want at the expense of everyone else. Taking it to its most absurd scenario, so that you begin to, so you begin to notice this. Sometimes me and mine isn't. We don't take it to its ultimate ridiculousness or absurdity. So I noticed that this happened at Chithurst years ago, and just being aware of a kind of unacknowledged demand I had on the community there. So I noticed, like, I wanted, I wanted kind of affirmation that I'm okay, but this wasn't, acknowledged really. But I began to notice how I want to, I smile a lot so people will smile back, things like this, and then kind of almost demanding they respond, and then feeling somehow insecure when I smile at them and they don't smile back. Things like noticing just these little things of kind of being in a community and wanting, using it to give me this sense of security that I needed emotionally and personally. Otherwise, I feel insecure. So then I started just observing it, recognizing this. I could think about, why do I have this insecurities? Because I was never nursed by my mother. I was brought up on cow's milk. Maybe that's it. Maybe this is a result of being nursed on cow's milk other than my mother. And that's interesting idea, but you can't really prove it one way or the other. But without being critical of this, I'd take it to absurdity. And then I took it to the point where I was hearing myself say, I want this whole community's sole duty here at Chithurst is to make me feel safe and secure. You're not here to be enlightened or anything. You're here to make me feel okay. Bringing it fully into consciousness to the point of where it's ridiculous. Just start laughing at it. It's really silly, isn't it? And yet, I could spend one's life just with that kind of unacknowledged thing and never really getting beyond it. Once I saw, how, the absurdity of this, not as something to reject, but recognizing it and letting go of this tendency. But it drops away because you're receiving it. You're investigating it. You're allowing it to be what it is. You're not trying to make it into more Sakya Ditti. like about the cow's milk, that would be more sakyaditi. Because I didn't get everything perfect in the beginning, that I have this problem. My mother was not an arahant. And I wasn't born in an enlightened society where all of my teachers and everybody was perfect. So it's the fault of the United States, fault of... I should have been born with all the best conditions, then I wouldn't have suffering or any problems. This is absurd, isn't it? But so that it's not about how things should be, or I'm a helpless victim because my mother fed me cow's milk. I couldn't justify this kind of neuroses through that. I'm like this because I wasn't, my mother couldn't nurse me and ended up with pasteurized cow's milk. That's why I'm the way I am. You just have or you begin to see this, seeing it as a habit you picked up, a way of learning, a way of survival that you pick up when you're a child, to get approval and get through the system. Because, we all learn survival techniques as children, how to get through the school system, or how to get along with your parents or your friends and enemies and so forth. So children have to learn how to survive. And it's a reward and punishment society. So you know how to get the rewards, by being good and polite and smiling, and then people smile back and they say you're a good boy, and that makes you feel okay. Well then, when you grow up, maybe that's still operative, unconsciously operating in your life. But in this mindfulness, then these kind of tendencies or habits become, you're allowing them to be received rather than analyzed and made into sakyaditi, or just being, just trying to get rid of them, or think that it should be otherwise, or seeing yourself as a victim of circumstances. So a way of developing this awareness, this liberation, this consciousness, where you have perspective on the conditions. So there is the unborn, uncreated, unformed, unconditioned. Therefore, there is escape from the born, the created, the formed, the conditioned. I love that. Because it is sterile, isn't it? It's not kind of all about all is love and we must love everybody. It's a very kind of matter-of-fact statement. There is the unborn, uncreated. And then these terms, unborn, uncreated, they're not inspiring terms. It's not about unconditioned love, or the ultimate purpose of life is liberation and fulfilling our true natures. It's pointing to a reality of now that isn't fraught with inspiring concepts or is not depressing. It's stating a fact, a matter of fact. This is the unborn, uncreated. So in this statement, then this is it, this awareness, conscious attention awareness, gate to the deathless. The Amaravati, the deathless realm, is this. It's not the monastery in England. It's it's here and now. And then from there, that begins to, these words I affirm it. This is it. And then, but I'm not trying to convince myself. I'm just noticing and resting in it. So you begin to feel at ease and at home in this empty, unconditioned, unborn. Then I can deal with the rest of it, with the body, the habits I have, the karmic tendencies, the society I'm living in, and all the rest. Because you're seeing it in terms of Dhamma, or the way it is, rather than from all kinds of tendentious, emotionally fraught issues and fears of self and all the rest that one creates from Sakya Ditti, Tilabhata Bharamasa, Vichikecha. So I offer this for your reflection this evening.
Practice Brahma Viharas for some time. Firstly, the Karuna Brahma Vihara, remembering all the people who are in deep difficulty. Hundreds of thousands of people at the moment are in deep distress. Remembering them, recalling them, and wishing them speedy recovery. सभी कष्ट दूर हों, सभी रोग दूर हों, रोग से मुक्ति में कोई बाधा ना आए, सभी स्वस्थ हों, निरोग। मैत्री ब्रह्म विहार, कृतज्ञता का ज्ञापन सबके प्रति, जो इन सब की सेवा शुश्रूषा में लगे हैं और हम सब के लिए आवश्यक वस्तुओं का प्रबंध कर रहे हैं। सभी सुरक्षित हो, स्वस्थ रहें। मैंने जितने भी पुण्य आज किए हैं या भूतकाल में किए हैं, वे सभी उसके भागीदार बने, अनंत प्राणी उसके भागीदार बने। पिता ब्रह्म विहार, जो लोग इस कष्ट से उभर गए हैं, स्वस्थ हो गए हैं, वो भी हजारों में हैं। वो सब स्वस्थ रहें, उनकी स्वस्थी को देख के मन में प्रसन्नता जागे, आशा जागे और यही सब कामना जागे कि वो स्वस्थ रहें, उत्तरोत्तर उनका स्वास्थ्य अच्छा हो। उपेक्षा ब्रह्म विहार, ये सब कष्ट, सब दुख हमारे अपने कर्मों का ही फल है। ये समझते हुए मन में समता का भाव जागे, संकल्प जागे हमारे मन में कि हम और सजग होकर जिएंगे, प्रकृति के साथ खिलवाड़ नहीं करेंगे, दूसरे प्राणियों के साथ निर्दयता से पेश नहीं आएंगे, पृथ्वी, जल, वायु सबका संरक्षण करेंगे, क्योंकि वही हमारे शरीर को, वातावरण को बना के रखते हैं। तो ये जो कष्ट, इतना महान कष्ट विश्व में छाया है, वो सब हमारे अकुशल कर्मों का ही फल है। सती संपजन्य से हम देखें कहाँ हमसे चूक हुई और उसको सुधारें। अब मैत्री का फुल मैत्ता चांट। अवेरोमि अव्यापज्योमि अनिगोमि सुखी अत्तानं परिहरामि।
मम माता पितु
आचार्या च
नातिमित्ता च सह ब्रह्मचारिणो च अवीरा होन्तु अव्यापज्या होन्तु अनीका होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु। आरक्षा देवता, भूमट्टा देवता, रुक्षट्टा देवता, आकाशिता देवता अवीरा होन्तु अव्यापज्या होन्तु अनीका होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु।
सर्वे सत्ता, सर्वे
प्राणा सभ्ये भूता सभ्ये पुद्गला सभ्ये अत्ता भाव पर्यापन्ना सभा इत्यो सभ्ये पुरुषा सभ्ये अरिया सभ्ये अनरिया सभ्ये देवा सभ्ये मनुष्या सभ्ये विनिपातिका अवीरा होन्तु अव्यापज्या होन्तु अनीका होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु दुःखमुच्यन्तु यथा लड्डा सम्पत्तितो विच्यन्तु कम्मस्का कम्मदायादा कम्मयोनि कम्मबन्धु कम्मपटिशरणं यं कम्मं करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं पापकं वा तस्य दायादा भविष्यन्ति। प्रथमाया दिशाया पश्चिमाया दिशाया उत्तराया दिशाया दक्षिणाया दिशाया प्रथमायानुदिशाया पश्चिमायानुदिशाया उत्तरायानुदिशाया दक्षिणायानुदिशाया हेतिमाया दिशाया उपरिमाया दिशाया सब्बे सत्ता सब्बे पाणा सब्बे भूता सब्बे पुग्गला सब्बे अत्ता भाव पर्यापन्ना सब्बा इतियो सब्बे पुरुषा सब्बे हरिया सब्बे अनरिया सब्बे देवा सब्बे मनुष्या सब्बे विनिपातिका अवेरा होन्तु अव्यापज्या होन्तु अनीगा होन्तु सुखी अत्तानं परिहरन्तु दुःखामुच्यन्तु यथा लड्डा सम्पत्तितो विगच्छन्तु कमस्य का कम दायादा कम योनि कम बंधु कम पटिशरणं यं कम्मं करिष्यन्ति कल्याणं वा पापकं वा तस्य दायादा भविष्यन्ति ऊर्ध्वं या वा भवगा च अधो या वा अविचितो समन्ता चक्रवालेषु ये सत्ता पृथ्वी चरा अभयापज्या निविराज निर्दुःखा च अनुपद्रवा ऊर्ध्वं या वा भवगा च अधो या वा अविचितो समन्ता चक्रवालेषु ये सत्ता उदकी चरा अभयापज्या निविराज निर्दुःखा च अनुपद्रवा ऊर्ध्वं या वा भवगा च अधो या वा अविचितो समन्ता चक्रवालेषु ये सत्ता आकाशे चरा अभयापज्या निविराज निर्दुःखा च अनुपद्रवा सब्बे सत्ता सुखी होन्तु सब्बे होन्तु सुखिनो सब्बे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा किञ्चित् पापमागमा मा किञ्चित् सुखमागमा मा किञ्चित् दुःखमागमा भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वबुद्धानुभावेन सदा सोति भवन्तु ते भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वधर्मानुभावेन सदा सोति भवन्तु ते भवतु सर्वमङ्गलं रक्षन्तु सर्वदेवता सर्वसङ्घानुभावेन सदा सोति भवन्तु अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्ध भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादयामि भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि सुप्रतिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संघो संघं नमामि